The All Smiling Faces podcast is now sponsored by Tyre Spot, the Northeast's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Always Smiling Faces podcast on the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. Decker's not here tonight, so we are joined by Mr. Marc Corby. How are you, Marc?
Very well, very well. Glad to be here, as we invite boys.
Smiling faces just like the rest of us as well?
Yes, absolutely buzzing at the minute, man. It's just incredible, isn't it?
So we've got the usual lads as well. We've got Besty and we have Mark Walker. Shall we just dive straight into it as usual?
It's going to get very complicated, isn't it? Having two Marks on one podcast.
On the same side as well.
And sitting near each other.
Yeah. Shall I say,
Didn't think this through, did we?
handsome Mark and ugly Mark.
Yeah. It's harsh, he's only came tonight and you call him ugly.
I'm replacing Deck. It's impossible to replace that handsomeness, isn't it?
He would like to say so, mate. He
yeah.
would. Shall we just dive straight in?
I think we should.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions, send them our way as usual. We'll go through as many throughout, mainly at the end.
Actually, do you always wear glasses?
No.
It's just there.
They're not even real glasses, man.
They're all real glasses.
They're not.
I just something's different. Like, you know, when you take your hat off and you're like, no, Kris is bald.
Yeah, remember that bald? Yeah.
It still catches me by surprise, and I've known him for years and years.
But yeah, I do tend to wear glasses, but my last pair broke, and I just never replaced them. So yeah,
Some guy stole them at the match once. Still hasn't got them back.
that's not what happened. But
I'm trying to work out where you're going with that.
I know.
Is that the Joe Chilcott thing?
Maybe.
no, right. Let's move on. So Newcastle United, another impressive display. I'll come to you, Besty.
Right.
Any shocks about the starting 11, or just as you were expecting with the Callum Wilson illness?
Yeah, the Wilson thing was kind of, and there was talk during the game of, is it because of the World Cup? Is he trying to just kind of not do what Michael Owen did necessarily, or do what Owen did, but on a much smaller scale, where he kind of thought, well, I'm in the squad now, like, so I'll take it easy. But apparently had COVID.
Yeah, came out today on his podcast. Which, to be fair, we did have half an idea that's probably what it would have been when we saw him after the Southampton game.
Has he actually admitted that now?
Yes.
He has.
Yeah.
All right. Well, somebody was in the comments taking the piss out of me yesterday because I said he had COVID.
No, he did. Came out and said
somebody
today.
came all like give it a rest or something. He hasn't had COVID.
You've got inside information, though, Kris.
Yeah, we did hear this before the Southampton game. We heard that. We did mention it as well. But yeah, that was one of the reasons that he was a doubtful Southampton game.
But apart from that, that was kind of, we knew he wasn't very well anyway, but prior to that, there was a possibility maybe St. Maximin coming back in because getting back towards full fitness, it would seem, or you would assume. But then, do you drop Joe Linton? Do you drop Joe Willock? I mean, they've both been playing that well all season, really. Like, I think you got it right.
We're still in that position where you feel as if a player can't get dropped, no matter who's fit.
Yeah, even like the likes of like Jacob Murphy, who kind of is getting a hard time. We've given him a hard time quite a bit, you know. I was listening to True Faith the other day, and even Alex was saying, even like
just because he's here, you don't have to mention
4 minutes in.
I don't mention Rafa yet, but they were like Joe Willock. Jacob Murphy's kind of like everyone's. I don't want to be unkind, but he's kind of what everyone would consider probably be the weakest player in the first team squad. He's the first option off the bench.
Well, he's the one that's currently unlucky to not be in the team, given his performances and being the preferred left winger at the moment. And
I mean, what he did, I don't know, Ashley Young's like older than probably all of us combined, like, but what he did to him is a week. Not that Mark. But yeah, like, he's as I said, he's probably the bar for like the least well-regarded player we'll have in the first team squad at the minute, and he's still you can't
putting in a shift. Yeah,
because he can't drop him. He's not playing, is he? Not starting, but he's the first one off the bench. Edison Maximin at the minute.
Mm-hmm. Well, he did get dropped, didn't he? When you think about it, he got dropped for Joe Linton. But I think just to back up what you're saying there, I think there's been a jury out on probably Murphy and Longstaff this season.
Yes,
and you're right in what you're saying. When we're winning games, you shouldn't really, for me, change your winning team.
Yeah,
but when you've got Joe Linton coming back in, and we were led to believe he was more of a left-hand midfield or winger before he come to Newcastle.
He played there with Bruce, didn't he, a couple of times, yeah.
Exactly. Is that his strongest position? Is he better than Murphy? Does he give you more? Probably.
I think him and Willock. I think he can play Willock up there as well. Him and Joe Linton have swapped a few times over the past few.
They've done it throughout the game.
Yeah.
They've done it loads throughout
I think
the game.
that's one of the main thing with them too, isn't it? It's that interchangeability, like between them, and that how we like to talk about this fluid formation that we've got, having them there in that left of the midfield three, and then the left of the forward three. They're just drifting in and out between the pair of them. It's nice to see.
Colby, I'm going to ask you this question because obviously us three will have a conversation about Newcastle every single week.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the best Newcastle United side you have seen? If we're looking at overall, I'm not saying just single the attack as a midfield or defense, as a unit in the current position we are in right now. Does this go head to head with the best, if not the best?
Defensively, yes, 100%. I think we've got better defenders now in this team than what we did in the the 95-96 period. When I look back at that period, which we do fondly, Philip Albert, fantastic footballer, not a great defender, in my opinion.
Do you know where he is?
Very, very difficult to locate.
This guy, actually. But well, the Chronicle found him all right. He was in there the other week again, wasn't he? But not when I look back at that side, we had more of an attack-minded fullbacks, with Warren Barton, Steve Watson, and obviously John Beresford and Robbie Elliott. But looking at this defensive unit now, that we've got the best keeper as well. I love Pav. I thought Shaka Hislov was a decent goalkeeper, but
they weren't that level of Pope, were they, though? That's the
Keegan never got his number one, did he?
Yeah.
You wanted was it Tim Flowers? Who was that?
You wanted Tim Flowers or Brad Friedel.
Never got either. Yeah.
So when you look at collectively as a defensive unit, I think we're much stronger. Midfield, I would still lean more towards Keegan's side. In strikers, you've got to go more towards Keegan's side, even though I love Callum Wilson. He's possibly up there with not necessarily Cole and Shearer, but definitely up there with Demabar.
Yeah.
But collectively, I think it's too early to say they're as good as that side. However, if I'm back on here in a year's time, and I hope they are. I hope we are now talking about this side as following as what we did.
Is it more than a flash in the pan, though?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing about it now is that every game we go into, which obviously I would imagine we'll be going to this Chelsea game in more detail, but everyone was confident going into that fixture.
Aye.
It's Chelsea. And Chelsea for the last, probably the majority of the last 20 to 25 years have always had a stronger side and, more capable of winning trophies than we have, bar a couple of seasons under Bobby Robson, if we go back as far as Keegan as well. So for us to go into that game as a rival to them, if not better than them, when we beat them under Rafa and under Pardew, we were always the underdog. And sometimes it was just a flash in the pan. That was a flash in the pan. Like you could say a freak result because we didn't expect to beat them and we weren't beating the top sides. But now we're past them on the way, and it feels brilliant.
It's great. I want with the Metros being off between Shields and Pilo, I've been driving to Heworth getting a Metro, so I went and got a bottle of pop in the shop. They're like, "Is he going to the game?" I said, "Aye." He says, "What do you reckon?" I thought, I'm confident, and I've never really thought. Normally, the stock responses are, "Well, it's going to be they might have a canny pint afterwards or something like that." Yeah. But I was like, "No, I'm confident." I said, "Like it was almost like a kind of a sea change in my mentality around Newcastle. I think we could beat these. Yeah,
it feels strange though, doesn't it?
It's really strange. I love it. I felt like dead warm. I think that was the Grinch's heart grows.
See, before the game, I wasn't quite on that confidence level. I felt a lot happier going into the game and thought we'll give a good account of ourselves. But I was thinking, depends on Chelsea as well, which Chelsea team turns up, because they've been a bit funny this season.
Does it matter what Chelsea team turn up?
Well, this is
seeing like how well we are doing at the minute.
That's as the game. Well, literally 2 minutes into the game, that thought was gone out of my mind, because I thought the way that we were just getting at them and approaching, I thought we are going to be, we're well up for this. We're going to give them a hell of a game. Probably helped that I'd had a good drink before the match as well. But my confidence levels rose as soon as we started and sort of approached the game.
Set about them straight away, didn't they?
Yeah,
totally.
We've done it every single game. Do you know what it is? I'm saying that I was on the fence, but I wasn't really. the way we used to look at this sort of game, it's a free hit. We're thinking if we get beat, fair enough, whatever. Like we're expecting to get beat. I still was putting it as a free hit, but thinking if we get beat, we're still going to go into this World Cup break sat in fourth, which is crazy. But then when you win that game and you're thinking, oh well, like why was I concerned? It feels really weird because we're programmed as Newcastle fans to expect the worst.
I think the phrase I've used, like I'm like defrosting off of Mike Ashley is, but it's still not quite thought out yet. But that was, I think maybe I am now. Because I started looking at the league table thinking, well, we're third, we're 2 points off Man City. But I've been saying it's not just good form, it's sustained. And I've totally forgot this is what we did last season as well. Basically this whole year, since Leeds away in January. So it can't just be good form. We are a good side. Now we've got a good manager and a good young side.
Especially if you include Boxing Day or just after, was it Man United, was this 27th, 28th, something like that?
It was between Christmas and New Year, yeah.
If you include that game, the Watford, yes, there were draws, but if you go back, it's almost a year.
Yeah.
Almost a year. When we come back again against Leicester in the league, I think we've lost altogether, 7 games? In a year?
I don't think it's even that many.
As every week I just sit here and just laugh.
Is that 11
because
unbeaten now? Is that
still can't get my head around it?
It's 11 unbeaten. And
5 wins in a row, is it?
And we sat here, and going into this season, we sat here and we said, we probably won't do what we did towards the end of last season when we went 9-10 games unbeaten it was.
Yeah.
We've done it. We're not even halfway in the season. We've done it. Yeah. It's. I just honestly,
do it again.
I know I'm sat here thinking, yes, Newcastle fans will always expect the worst. But how long is it going to take for us to change that?
Sticking with Besty's cooking analogy, like I'm starting to simmer. Like it's. I've tried to keep like pretty level-headed with it and keep my feet on the ground with it, and I'll keep my feet on the table, but.
The thing is, so
we're bloody brilliant, aren't we?
You are level-headed. We all are level-headed. You're not shouting from the rooftops. You're not being a Twitter wanker and going on and giving the media and other supporters and oh look at the Maggie's speaking up again, all deluded. We're not doing that. But collectively, we're sitting here now confident, and the break, which I'm sure we'll come to again, it's coming at a bad time. But a good time in some sense, because you're going to get Isak back and, a fully fit St. Maximum and Shelby, etc. But look, there's nothing better than looking forward to the next fixture. And that's what we've been doing every week.
Aye.
Before we start dissecting the game, Marc, I'll come to you. Colby. I'm going to keep on going to Colby because, yes, it is getting confusing, Besty, like you said at the very start. Is this World Cup break coming at a bad time or a good time?
I think it is. Personally, I've got no interest in the World Cup.
Does it feel strange to say that, though?
Very strange, because we've all talked about World Cups of the past, growing up with Mexico 86, Italia 90, when we had loads of Geordies representing England.
The 70s for Besty.
I can't remember 86, so I'm all right there.
But, you fast forward to the late 90s and early 2000s, I learned to sort of dislike those footballers, the Scholes, Nevilles, Beckhams, Lampards, because we were playing them every week and we grew to hate them. So it was difficult for me to switch that mentality from not liking them, playing for the opponent, compared to supporting them for England. So maybe I've just lost that sort of passion for England. But going back to your point, maybe I'm just sort of being the selfishness where I'm thinking I'm not interested in England, I'm not interested in the World Cup. Obviously, I want to see Newcastle players do well, Bruno, etc. But I'm not interested. I just cannot wait for that cup game against Bournemouth. See if we can still continue what we've done. And also that league game at Leicester on Boxing Day. I'm getting, as always, demands for tickets. It's just incredible.
So talking about demand for tickets, to see Newcastle sell out St. James's Park for a cup tie is phenomenal.
A cup tie in November as well. It's not as if it's a quarter final or
against a Premier League opposition as well.
Yeah. Would have given 6 weeks ago.
It's absolutely phenomenal to see that.
Record home.
Obviously, it was still a different crowd to what you see at a Premier League game to a cup game. You could still tell and you could still see that. Obviously, the performance didn't help the atmosphere because it was pretty shit, to be honest with you. And I'm not sugarcoating that it was a poor performance, but there's 8 changes made. But overall, it's another step forward because it's a sellout crowd at St. James's Park.
It just shows you how far we've came. Like in that, basically in the last year of how taken over, obviously the takeover of the club, but I couldn't in my wildest dreams imagine that we'd be in this position where we are now. And I think that's why we all do still feel a little bit shocked by and that like wary because we are programmed as Newcastle fans. Just good things don't happen to us.
It's dreamland at the minute, isn't it? It really is.
Even with the World Cup break, I don't know if it's coming that bad a time because we've only got, I think, 5 players going, not counting Coel, who's not really our player anyway. Like, but we've got Trippier, who should start for England, but I think Southgate will probably go with Trent because Southgate likes Trent. Pope's not going to play much. Wilson might get a half an hour against Wales last game or something like that.
Minutes.
Shea might get a couple of games for Switzerland, but they're not going to go. Bruno's not first choice yet for Brazil, so we've got 5 players going, not necessarily 5 players playing 7, 8, 9 games, whatever it is, to get the final.
Yeah.
The teams around we're looking at like Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea. They've got half that squad's going, 3/4 of that squad's going, so they're going there, playing competitive football, getting knackered, coming back. Whereas most of our squad are going to Saudi for a trip. They've got a pre-season game against Vallecano.
Yeah.
And even the League Cup match, the Bournemouth match, that can effectively be a
It's like
pre-season
a betting
game.
in sort of thing again, isn't it?
I think it's maybe it's not a great time because of the momentum that we've built up. But if you use it properly, it can be such a benefit in Newcastle. And then you get to January, there's 2 games, and the January window opens, and then I'm not saying all bets are off, but do the board look at it and go, right, we are now going to say, if we are third, we're going to be top 4 in January. Are we going to put some money in this and kick on and say, right, we're ahead of schedule, but calculated risk, there's X amount of money going by him, then?
I think you've nailed it, Besty. I think you can read into this trip to Saudi Arabia as in, let's keep them happy, let's get some more cash off of them, and let's go and buy the players we want to kick on. I think, as we all know, we're surprised. I think the owners are surprised.
Well ahead of schedule.
And I personally think they've looked at that and thought, we can get Champions League. And imagine Champions League in the first full season that they have owned the football club.
Yeah.
And look, speculate accumulates, cliche, but it's true. And I personally think it's going to go to Saudi, keep them sweet, and don't be surprised if we break our record in January.
Well, there was this weekend as well, the first game we had the Saudi Airways and STC. I forgot that sort of
Telecom.
But yeah, the first time I've not noticed them before on the ground. Little things like that kind of are open your head and you think, I mean, it could be 2 and 2 making 5, like, but it does the 70 million pound they put in last week.
Aye.
Little bits and pieces, that kind of thing, make us think, oh, well,
It's going to open a lot of doors.
I think
a lot of doors. And I think, seeing that was said this on the last trip to Saudi Arabia, that expect to come back with a big sponsor, and it never actually happened. But apart from Noon, that was after the trip to Saudi, I believe.
We're not going to. I mean, there was all this noise in the week about, the photos and videos.
We'll come back to that.
We'll come back
There's
to
a
that
question
one,
about that as
right.
well. So we'll come back. So let's get into the Chelsea game. So it's another game, Bestie, where we just start off on the front foot. Don't give them a chance.
Sorry, just burped.
Have you had a kebab as well? Have you had garlic?
No,
Has everybody else had garlic?
If Amy's listening, he absolutely hasn't had a kebab.
No, I made sweet and sour pork balls. It was very nice. Like, what are you saying? Sorry, Chris. I was trying to.
We started on the front foot.
Started on the front foot as you were burping in your face. Aye.
Burping pineapple and garlic at you. They really did. This got up straight away from the first kickoff. They just, everyone, Chris Wood looks like he's kind of he's like a bit of a swine now. He was chasing the keeper up loads. Whenever it was Mendy, who I quite like as a goalkeeper, had the ball. Wood was on him. The same thing where you've got the front 5-6 players from like Bruno forward. Everyone's chasing a man down. In Chelsea, I thought dealt with it better than somehow, but they still lost the ball an awful lot around the box, an awful lot, and it's all because of how Newcastle played. And eventually, you'd imagine they're going to get found out because if it's so easy, and not easy, but if all it takes is fitness in that organisation, look how successful Liverpool were with the gegenpressing for so long. Like it seems like such a, I don't want to say an easy way to do it because obviously it isn't. I'm sitting here 20 on stone, not saying that, but it's so effective. Look at the Bournemouth, Brentford at home at 5-1. Like 3-4 the goals were from that high press.
Yeah.
Murphy's goal, Almiron's goal, the one where Burn and Bruno chasing down Bruno scored. And it's so successful. And teams, there was one point in the first half where I thought Chelsea had the measure a little bit, where that young fullback, number 67, Lewis, was a price something like that. Where him and Mount worked quite well, played the ball over Trippier, and I thought, they've got what's sussed here. And then it just didn't happen again because the Newcastle worked that out. Everton as well, when we played Everton, we pressed them high, and a couple of times Iwobi got away, and it was like, it's not totally, but they couldn't do out with it. And again, going back to what Marc said about the defence, we've had 2 or 3 home games in a row up until this one in the league where Nick Pope hasn't had to make a save, and he's made 1, well, 2 technically, but 1 that was like a save.
Very good save at the Leazers.
Brilliant save.
Yeah, Gallagher,
really good
wasn't
save. When Trippier lost it, came back, won, and then Bruno lost it.
Yeah.
And it's a really good save, but he makes it look easy. So I know it's getting away a little bit from what you said about the front foot, but yeah, it's working. And it's working really well. Chelsea aren't no hope as. One thing I thought with Chelsea, their lineup was they had so much kind of quality or perceived quality on the bench. It almost to me felt like a bit like we did against Palace, where I thought, well, they're going to try and see what they're going to do with their weekend. And then in the second half, because they can get 5 subs now, they're going to bring Aubameyang on and Sterling's gone. And it just didn't happen. I didn't know if that was just some part I was trying or what, like, but it was now it made it. Chelsea aren't in great form, but I mean, before this run of form, they were. They started the season really well with Potter. They're not a bad side, but we made them look really, really. We frustrated them, and that really came out towards the end, which I'm sure we'll come to later on as well. But yeah, it was. It's just lush to watch. I watch all the athletic T4 videos and stuff like that. I probably like get right involved with it, on about passes per defensive action and stuff like that. And and it's like. We've gone from being shite and just letting teams have the ball and right, we're going to attack you 30 yards from our goal, to doing the exactly to saying right, as soon as you're outside your box, we're coming for you. And look, we're third. We're 2 points off second. 30 points for 15 games, so 2 points per game, which is always a good yardstick. If you can double your games with points, then you're doing something right. And we're 15 games in, and it's not a flash in the pan.
Marc Walker, Scott is actually coming in saying,
"Get me full name."
Obviously, this is all with Chris Wood as well in that team on Saturday as well. Our third choice striker, you would say now. It's a case once again where a player drops out and another one comes in, and yes, you can tell, but it's not blatantly obvious that the side is dropping in performance. No, it's happened a few times this season with different players.
There was obviously a lot of people, were panicking that Chris Wood was going to go in there because he's got his critics in the fan base. Yes, he's not Chris. He's not Callum Wilson. He's definitely Chris. He's not Callum Wilson, so he's not going to give you what he does. But what he does do very well, albeit a little bit slower than Callum Wilson, is he'll press, he'll chase down, he'll put pressure on the defenders and stuff like that. He works hard, and that in this lineup and the way that we're playing, that's what you need to do. You need to defend from the front, and he'll absolutely do that for you.
Well, that run of games we had last season, I mentioned earlier, Callum Wilson played the last 1, 2. Chris Wood was centre forward for the vast majority of that. He didn't score many, but
important goals are the one he did.
Won a lot of games. I mean, you could point towards that miss against, I think it was Villa, where he had the volley and scored a crack there down in Southampton. Came close, I thought, on Saturday when his cross came in from the left, and he just got cut out before he could have got to it. But he's. It sounds like such a cliche, and it's when people say when strikers aren't scoring to say, "Oh, but you've got to look at what he does."
Yeah,
away from that. But you really have with Chris Wood. I said earlier that I think I saw. I forget who it was on Twitter now. One of the lads that does the XG stuff, and it was he's closed his bloke, the keeper down so many times, and him down. It's like you can't ignore that. That goes. That's what he was doing last season as well. But that goes a long way to the success of what Newcastle are doing now. Similar to the Murphy goal against Brentford, where he comes from basically our box. Callum Wilson puts the pressure on him. He puts pressure on him, and if everyone does that job, this is what happens.
Yeah,
and Wood's been a massive part of that when he's played.
So you do see a lot of teams press, but Corby, we do this right up until the full-time whistle. The engine on those lads, and you look at the likes of Longstaff and Joe Linton, right until the last blow of the whistle. It's non-stop. It's literally relentless.
Remember when Howe first got the job, and it was made a huge thing about how he was stopping training. You know what I mean? Like, what? They're probably thinking, "What the hell is this? What have I walked into?" But we know why, because of the previous coaching regime, whatever you want to call it.
One of the first things he did was make them do a bleep test. That shows, running, stamina, that kind of thing. It just shows you how important that bit is coming into training.
And the thing is, as you said, Wood's come in and he grafted his arse off and he got an ovation. We've always, been tarnished. I suppose we've tarnished ourselves with it in a way. We want a team that tries. You can try, but you've got to be actually good at playing football. And now we've got an identity. We're pressing from the off, as you say, but we're still pressing at the end.
Yeah.
And when you think about the overall 98 minutes, whatever it was, they had one shot on target, would you say?
Just two, I think. That two technically.
One that kind of you just had to get down and kind of stung his palms up. That's it. One from Gallagher was the only one I would say.
That was a proper shot. They tested it.
And why is that? Because we're pressing high, the strikers are pressing, midfielders are, and we've got midfielders who don't just, you couldn't pigeonhole any of their midfielders with a specific role. You wouldn't say, "Oh, well, Bruno's my playmaker," because he's not.
Yeah,
he's a team player as well. Longstaff, he's another one like Wood. A lot of his play is noticed when he hasn't got the ball.
Yeah,
he's hurrying and things like that, and we'll go on and on and on. But the fitness levels is incredible, and this is why going back to what we were talking about before about the World Cup being a break, a welcome one or not. No, I don't think it is. Besty hit the nail on the head. Momentum. We've got the momentum now, and imagine we were neck and neck with Arsenal going going into the new year.
Yeah.
But hey, one step at a time. I suppose.
That's a good point, having a month where you're not playing competitive football.
But you could take that gives them their bodies a bit of a rest, that allows them to recover, get that fitness. They'll still be training very hard, that we know from Eddie Howe. Yes, they're not getting the games, but it'll maybe just give them that little bit of time to recover.
It works the same way though, because the likes of Arsenal and Man City especially, they will probably welcome this break now, thinking we've just obviously got beat of Brentford. I know a lot more of their players will be going to the World Cup, but if momentum's on our side, what's better? The chance to recharge your batteries or momentum? And now we'll probably take momentum.
Yeah,
it's hard to say, because then you get the Easter. The lads that have been in the World Cup, that have gone far in the World Cup, so Argentines, Brazilians, probably French, German lads, are going to be knackered. Drops on a drop
Particularly
off.
those that are obviously playing in Europe.
I'm not saying we're going to win the league. Lads are playing the Champions League, UEFA Cup, whatever as well. I'm not saying we're going to win the league, but if we can be round the top four around Easter time, when they start to get that,
As if you're saying that.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Mental.
It's mad, and I'm starting to kind of believe myself now as well. That's that. It's not just. It's like football manager.
Because you've got faith in what you're watching every week now.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a plan. There's an actual plan.
Well, that's it. We've gone from having hope to now having faith.
Yeah.
It's all to do with planning and tactics, and we can physically see that. And this is all that we're screaming about over previous season, the lack of it, and the smallest little details that we're standing up and seeing now and appreciating, which comes to most fans at a football club. They just expect that.
Yeah.
But we seem so grateful that there's actually a plan in place and the structure there.
And that's the key thing. We have got a plan. We're not doing it by luck. When you look at the performance we put it at the weekend, look at the stats, the amount of shots that we had, we really took the game to them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 10 shots that we had, 5 on target.
Something like that. It was,
so, you know, it's pressure, constant pressure on them. Like from that press, when getting in and around them, even from the goal kicks. Yeah. How often do you see teams taking obviously those little short goal kicks into the two centre backs inside the box? As soon as that was happening, we were on them. The amount of times they nearly got caught out in the box, just dilly-dallying between them or playing it back to the keeper and him having to clear it away. And that comes from that hard work and that pushing to want to win and get that ball.
Doesn't it seem mad though that it's not the be all and end all, but I remember Callum Wilson at the start of last season saying, we weren't fit. At the start of the season, we weren't fit enough to start a football season. And like having professional athletes who aren't fit just seems, I can't understand how that can happen. And you've got 20 clubs in the Premier League, so 20, 25 man squad, so 440 players, whatever it is, 450 players. And like they should all be, I don't understand why any of them wouldn't be absolutely to the limit, fine tune. Like they've got their dietitians now. Even when they're on a summer holiday, look what John Joe did in the summer. Yeah. He came back ripping, he came back looking like he's been playing football for last 6 months. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't understand how, and it's more of a thing about the previous manager than it is a kind of a salute to what Howe's done. But how can you have these blokes, these early to mid 20s for the most part, and not have them absolutely peak? Mm-hmm. Doing a beep test. And you've got blokes doing 4 and 5 and dropping out. They think, it's unbelievable that'll come back to the players' mentality as well, because if they can feel that they can get away with putting in 50%, 60% in training, I don't know. For you or me, but for someone that's that.
No, but even professional footballers, you look at players that go away during the summer and they come back and they've got a bit of belly on them and stuff like that because they've gone wild during the summer. If you're not getting managed to ensure that you're in peak performance and that you're not being pushed in training and stuff like that, if you've even got that little bit of, that thought of it in your head, you're gonna take it. I think that's been driven out.
It seems
from the club,
but there again,
through Howe and stuff like that.
Sitting here as a bitter 40-year-old thinking if someone was giving me 50 grand a week, but then I've got that extra 20 years on some of the players now, so maybe it is that, yeah. But just seems matter is that if your body is what's kind of paying the bills, and if you get them to get the most out of it, you've got to do this, and this. You could be a World Cup winner, you could go on the Champions League, you could be pulling in 300 grand a week
because it's a short career at the end of it.
Oh, it's not long at all, and you look at how many players come out of it and don't manage very well.
You've got just a quick one on that. You've got to put that back to Steve Bruce and his coaching staff, though, for me, because, and yes, it's easy to call the likes of Bruce a dinosaur, but his methodologies and his strategies for football is left in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, totally.
Now it certainly is. And when you look at Eddie Howe, who took a year and a half out to basically find himself and find out why he failed, or well, not failed, but got Bournemouth relegated in the end when he was
He said it was a
cash.
failure. Like he's
Well, good for him.
Right.
He's wanting to achieve better things for himself. Therefore, he's getting about 50% more from these players.
Yeah.
And just a quick one on St. Maxim as well. St. Maxim was always our far superior footballer in a pretty average team. Now the players are passing him on the way up, and that's why St. Maxim's not given to get straight back in the side. And to be honest, going to the new year, even if he is fully fit, I don't think he's a guaranteed start.
I don't think we've missed him.
Nailed it.
He's going to struggle. He's going to struggle to get back in that starting 11.
He's good enough.
He's not getting in at the minute ahead of Murphy, is he?
That must be fuming.
Spitting feathers now. Like,
I think he's good enough.
It makes a change from me, not like having something to say about him.
I still think he's a wonderful player. And if Eddie Howe can get what he wants out of him, then he's, again, one of the first names on the team sheet. But at the minute, we're getting these results without him. I mean, we're getting him without Isak. We've got him without Wilson as well for a spell. But I think out of all of them, he's the one where you look at, you can play Joe Linton there, you can put Willock there for a little while.
There's one person ahead of him.
Yeah. Murphy again off the bench, as we say.
His performance against Man City was incredible. 10 out of 10.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
But that's few and far between for me. And as I say, the players now have stepped up such a different level that he isn't the best player in a poor side. He's
a little bit of us feel sorry because we've always had this thing where we'd say that players get better when they're not playing.
True.
Where we would say we would like when Shelby was playing like shite which he was for a spell a few years ago, we'd say, we need John Joe back. He's been injured.
Dummett's one. People clamoring to get Dummett back in the team at one point.
Well, so Maximum, the last thing he did for really was that volley at Wolves.
Yeah,
and that goal a month and all that. And he played here and there since, but not much. But he's the one whose stock seems to have bizarrely fallen.
That's because everybody else, like Marc said, everybody else has just gone that extra rung up the ladder, and he's dropped down.
It's Walker's propaganda is what it is.
It's slowly working.
It is.
Turning
into the nation psyche, it's spreading across the table.
Or maybe just people are catching on to him.
If we go back to the game itself, there's one major talking point that I want to talk about, and it's the penalty appeal. I'm going to come to you, Besty. Is that the penalty? So it's just before half time.
Oh, the handball.
Yes.
I've not seen it since. But it's one of those ones where I don't think it should be. But given the penalties that have been given, I think it probably is.
So you don't think it is, but you wouldn't be shocked if it's given.
It's like the one that Dan Burn the one that was given against Dan Burn early in the season. I forget who it was against now. The header that was behind him. There was one at Tottenham that we thought we should have had, which I don't think should be a penalty. But given what the rules are at the minute, they've been given. So yeah, it is. So I think it's under how the rules are now. Yes, it's a penalty, but I don't like those rules. See what I mean?
I'm sure we just like you take the option on the penalty and just go against whatever I'm going to say because I don't think it's a penalty at all.
Do you not?
No.
Oh,
now
I'm
at
really
the time,
shocked. At
the match, I did.
All right,
because we had a chat about it then.
I was going to be sat arguing with you tonight about
No,
this.
no, like from seeing it back. But at the time, I think from where obviously we're sitting, where he's going to me, he completely stops the ball going past. But then seeing the replay back and how it comes about, he's literally going for the tackle. His arms, his balancing arm. There's nothing he can do with that. You kind of put it behind him. So he fucking fall over.
Well, it was like the one Ashley Young it was against Villa, where I think it's a penalty. I don't think it should be really because of how the ball's come at him from quite as low. And he's slid in and his arm's gone up because you can't slide out your arm in the air because out bounds all the cut. I don't think it should be a penalty, but I think given the ones that have been given, including Ashley Young, the Dan Burn thing, the one at Tottenham that wasn't given, I think it's, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think if his arm's up, as opposed to on the ground,
yeah,
there's more of a shout for a penalty. But I think the fact that his arm's down, he kind of put it anywhere.
Yeah.
Colby?
I think based on what the lads are saying, I've got to agree. It should have been a penalty based on the penalties that have been given. However, when you were young and you were always told handball is hand to ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was ball to hand.
Yeah.
He couldn't get out of the way. However, if he was standing up, it may have been given, as you mentioned there with Ashley Young's. I think if we had have got beaten, perhaps we would be shouting from the rooftop saying VAR's pissed off again. But it's easy to sort of forget about these instances when you've won a game of football.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the fence a little bit there. But for me, at the time, it was a blatant handball all the way from where we stand in the Gallowgate corner. When
that was exactly what I said.
But look,
if I was looking at this, if it was the other way around, and if we concede a penalty of that, I am livid.
Yeah.
So it's his balancing arm, and I think that's the reason why it didn't get given, because he's protecting himself at the end of the day, isn't he? His ball doesn't move to push the ball. His hand doesn't move to push the ball away.
It doesn't, but nor did Dan Burns. The week when that got given,
because that should never have been a penalty in a million years.
Yeah,
but that's what's been given at the minute.
So
I don't like it, but
is consistency the problem?
That's the problem.
Yeah, I think so. And it's interpretation as well. I mean, that's always been the thing. We've always said ball line is when you're playing in the schoolyard or whatever. But like consistency's always been the thing. You go back to, I mean, the Sissoko in the Champions League final a few years ago against Liverpool, really early in the game. That was unlucky. It was, I think it was Firmino of Wijnaldum. Maybe
it was really close to him. Was that really close?
It was, and that's these days that is a penalty, but I don't care for it particularly.
It's the unnatural position thing, isn't that's the new thing that they talk about.
From so close, what's to say what a natural position is? You could make an argument for most of them, say, but it's natural position because he's getting his balance, or it happens that quickly. I don't know. It's a difficult one. It'll come to the point where it's give more.
So while we're talking about the decisions made by the referee and VAR, Besty, I'll stay with you.
Okay.
How bad was that referee?
It was dreadful, wasn't he? It was really bad.
Horrendous.
Yeah.
Like, there's oftentimes I'll be at a game watching the referee who is as bad as it and think, is it just me?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, am I watching this like with some sort of persecution complex or something like that? But he was shocking.
None of these decisions made any sense.
I always tell when he's bad because Smithy Gann's Besty was referee. But he was like, but everything. It felt like everything on halfway whenever when they play hit the deck, I'll give that.
So there's the one, Marc, I think it might have been Longstaff where he gets pushed in the back and I think he lands on the ball and just picks it up, obviously, because
he blatantly gets pushed in the back.
The referee
gives him a free kick for handball. He was infuriating. The decisions he was making were just
devil's advocate. Did Longstaff get booked for that foul on there? Cooker at the end. There was one where
Bruno was that much happening towards the end of the game. I don't really know.
I can't remember what he got booked for.
Bruno was very lucky towards the end when he went in.
Because he missed him.
Aye. But even then,
he's getting sent off for GBH if he connects with that one.
One thing that happened towards the end, about 5-10 minutes left, maybe it's less, that I don't think I've ever seen before, was the off the ball thing where they've got the ball in their half. I think Dan Burns done something to Havertz. The referee's given a free kick on the edge of our box. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. Where the ball's been moved 40 yards up the pitch.
I can't even remember that happening.
Aye. The ball, he stopped it. It was just inside Chelsea's half.
Mm-hmm.
He blew up and like Havertz is on the deck and Dan Burns having a word with him.
Is that the linesman being a grass?
But even then, does that normally happen?
I can't
remember ever seeing the ball moved up the pitch that far.
I can't even remember that happening on Saturday.
I forgot about it until now. Yeah. Because we couldn't get our head around it, could we?
No.
So when was this?
Literally, it was right towards the end because it was like sweaty time. Like it was about 5 minutes left. They had the ball. Well, Havertz came on quite late, didn't he? And obviously, him and Dan Burn have.
Was this after Lascelles got booked?
No, before that. The referee blew up, and I looked up, and he said, "Right, free kick," but it was like 20 yards, 25 yards from our goal, as opposed to being.
It's a bit like if you're giving the team advantage. And then you
that doesn't surprise us with him.
Yeah,
there's a few people agreeing, saying definitely happened. Yeah, so that's completely bypass.
Yeah,
I've never ever, and maybe it's what's meant to happen, but I don't think I've ever seen that happen before.
Yeah.
Shout there saying that should that be a drop ball, but they don't do drop balls anymore, do they?
They do, but they don't contest them.
Aye,
yeah, so they just give it to their team.
It's
very rarely do anyway.
It's like a ceremonial drop ball now.
There's always a clip and it's Rooney against somewhere else, and Rooney's literally smashing somebody in the shin trying to get that ball. It's absolutely ridiculous rule that drop ball.
I say drop balls when I was playing.
I would definitely be backing out of them. Me like a bit natural habit. I'm just going to put it all the way out there. It's fine. Let's have a chat about the goal itself then, Marc. So Almiron once again, he controls the ball twice with his head.
He does. He knocks it down. Well, he gets a little one, knocks it on, doesn't he? And then he heads it down into the floor, and then. He obviously meant to then pass it to Willock.
I don't even think it's a pass. I think it's
he just fumbles over the ball.
In a very good position where Willock just sees up on his. Thank you very much. I'm smashing that.
He takes it off his toes. 100%. I think at that point, Almiron hasn't even looked up. He's still got his head down from the little head onto the floor, and then it gets away from him a little bit because the defender comes and puts a challenge in, but it just falls beautifully in the path of Willock, and he just. bends it into that corner with
it looks like
lovely
such
finish.
an easy finish. The way he just kind
effortless, isn't it?
He strokes it, but he really hits it as well. It's a lovely goal. I was listening to the BBC thing on the way in, and apparently it's the first goal he scored at St James's with the crowd in.
Oh, really?
Is it?
For all he had all those goals was during
Oh,
COVID.
will
wasn't
be,
it?
yes.
Yeah.
He didn't score a great many last season.
Last season, he got 2 away, didn't he? Brentford and West Ham.
Yeah.
So it's the first time he's. Now, I think it was literally just on the way here. I thought, God,
there's a stat.
So the first time,
He scored against Sheffield United in the comeback, but there's only 10,000 there, wasn't there?
the COVID.
But, yeah, full.
Yeah, it was the first.
And hey, what an eruption and all, mate.
It was.
What an eruption. And just on that goal, I mean, absolutely fantastic finish. How many brilliant goals have we scored this season? It instantly takes me back to the last decent season we had under Pardew, when every other week it was Ben Arthur or Cisse, Demabar, Danny Guthrie was chipping in with some screamers. And we're doing that again. It's the goals are coming from all over the pitch as well.
We've got the highest number of different scorers. 12, 13?
12.
Like Wood and Willock at Southampton. You didn't mention the build up there, Chris. Joe Linton, his ball armor on was brilliant.
Yes.
It was
He
beautiful.
took it down. He kind of played it like it was almost an overhead kick. He was horizontal. His leg was up there like that, like contorted himself. It's a really good ball over the top.
Do you know what it is? We'll say this every week, and we'll pick out players who had a great game. But Joe Linton for me at the weekend was immense.
It was as well as he played.
Absolutely immense. Him and Longstaff are the two standout for me. Like really
Willock for me.
I thought Willock was Joe Linton now. He's just a tank, isn't he?
And he's like a talisman.
Aye.
You really miss him when he's not there, and you don't realise. I'm still of the mindset a little bit that he's kind of moulded into that position a little bit, where eventually we'll replace him with someone better. But and then we had this summer just gone there. I was thinking, well, he's had a good run. He's a forward really, but we've kind of got. But he is now a proper. He said that Man U game was a year ago, nearly 11 months ago.
Right.
He's a proper.
He's the epitome for me of that hard working effort. Hardness.
He's almost
bit of shit house about him.
He's
just
the personification of what Newcastle are now.
Yeah. He just sums it up perfectly.
He kind of was beforehand as well, where he was 40 million, but he wasn't working. It was
such a redemption story, though, isn't it?
There's not one like it for Newcastle. Maybe anywhere. He was gone, wasn't he? We were getting, if we got £10 million for him 12 months ago, you're going like, okay.
I think two and polls put out a poll in the week around is who's the greatest like turnaround in form of Newcastle players. I think it was him. James Perch was in there.
Yeah.
I suppose Kennedy, but for a different.
He went the other way, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
Almiron's working his way in there as well.
Yeah.
At the minute.
For sure that.
I'm just going to throw in Gary Speed. When Gary Speed first came to Newcastle, Kenny Dalglish played him left wing. He wasn't a left wing at that age. He was a centre midfielder, box to box.
Well, he was for Leeds in the early.
Yeah, he played out there Leeds and Everton quite a while.
And we're talking about midfielders, and we're comparing the Keegan side and that before. But when I think the midfielders we've got, I think that's the thing we're lacking. And the same with Bruno as well. As brilliant as he is, I wish he'd stop pissing about the edge of our box.
Yeah,
he nearly caught out again when Gallagher got through and scored.
A couple of games.
He did against Palace, yeah. And look, he's brilliant. And I was thinking on the way up, I was thinking, he could easily be the best midfielder we've had since Robert Lee. But then I was thinking, and then again, Gary Speed was tremendous in the air. Gary Speed was a fantastic tackler. Gary Speed, what a left foot he had. And then I'm talking myself out of it now.
Yeah.
Rob Lee, so affectionate about him. Then you've got Gary Speed, David Batty, different attributes. But you want Bruno to be far, far better than them. But his time will come.
I think still technically, he's better.
That's still good.
I think he just needs to.
That's still
it's
like
great company.
If you're talking about in those kind of terms of Gary Speed, Robert Lee, like ahead of Kabay, even who was for me the high watermark for the post.
Yeah,
post Bobby Robson will say.
And this is sort of about Joe Linton as well, as he's a little bit of a destroyer, but he's clever with it. He's snide at times, but we love it. But like said David Batty, he would put a late challenge. It was an automatic yellow card. Joe Linton, yes, he's been booked 5 times this season. He's been suspended, but they're all clever with it.
Yeah,
all of them. They can be snide but clever with it. It's
breaking up play. Most of them aren't. They're breaking up play.
Well, I tell you, I was thinking this when I was driving in as well. Like winners are never popular.
You've done a lot of thinking on the way in.
Every team, it's quite a long drive. A lot of roadworks being Jarrah in here, but like. When Man U won the league, when Liverpool won it in Fergie time, and when Chelsea won it was Abramovich's millions and all that. Winners are never popular. You don't win football matches. You don't win. One won the league, obviously, might not for some time yet. But you don't win stuff by being nice, pushovers, pleasant.
I mean, look at a player like Roy Keane.
Yeah.
He was horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible.
Scholes couldn't tackle. He couldn't tackle. He didn't want to. You want to hurt people.
Yeah.
You know.
We'll look at Trippier on Saturday. I'm sure I turned around to you and said, persistent foul, he's going to be booked. But because of who he is, and because he's not known as a dirty bastard, I think the ref let him go a few times. Then at one point, Trippier was like apologising. I'm all right. But then after about the fourth time, I was like, right, come here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So certain players can get away with it.
I think Fish and Rod sums up Joe Linton there. He says Joe Linton uses his body to knock people over rather than using elbows.
He's so strong, isn't he? He's so strong.
A lot of them, like.
Oh, he's an absolute unit. Like,
just bounce off and don't they?
He's absolutely just an absolute.
I'd love to give him a cuddle just to feel him against us.
Right, so Chelsea's goalkeeper goes up towards the end of the game.
Oh, yes, he did. Maybe,
But you forgot about that as well, Besty.
I did.
That shit me up, that like.
And we almost got them on the counter attack as well.
We did.
It was a bad decision, wasn't it? Who was on the right hand side? Who was it? Joe Linton? When we broke,
I think it was Joe Linton.
He tried to chip over his man and
hit the first man, didn't it? But you're ready again. Once again, we're going to go full circle here. We're playing Chelsea, and the Chelsea goalkeeper's going up in the dying minute to try and equalise.
Maybe I thought they were looking for a bit of payback when obviously Isaac Hayden got one at the Gallowgate deep in injury time. That was a
the referee was
feeling.
certainly trying to help them out.
They certainly were. 10 minutes injury time.
Seven. So
seven.
minutes.
Was it 7?
Where the hell did that 7 minutes come from?
I don't. Who went down?
There was one there.
Early up. Well, first
Botman
half.
went down a couple of times in the second half.
He went off, didn't he? He went off.
Two of their players down for a good length of time as well.
It seemed a bit much, 7 minutes.
But it didn't. Yeah.
I thought. Yeah, I was surprised by that. Like 5 minutes. But then
you've got the subs on top as well, I suppose. But did seem excessive.
Well, wasn't he rushing them off as well? The referee was rushing
off. He was. I was going berserk about that.
Getting a hold of them. And,
so me and Decker did a match
literally
reaction.
as soon as what right now.
We done a match reaction yesterday, and two of the things which were highlighted were Nick Pope getting the caution for time wasting.
Yeah.
That was absolutely ridiculous. I'd forgotten about that until you said that.
The least time wasting he's done.
It was literally like
all season.
Well, you know what I've said before about Trippier. Pope, he's now known for time wasting, so the ref's waiting. He needs to be careful. Yeah.
But then when he got booked, he didn't even waste any time. He literally got the ball, put it down.
Someone down at the edge of the box.
And then
it was Fabian Schär was holding his back of his leg. Then he walks past the ball after the Chelsea players put it in a 6-yard box. He walks past it to see if he's all right. He hasn't even reached Fabian Schär, and the referee straight away books him.
Yeah.
But then he takes longer to get back to the ball.
To then take it,
is what he did the first time. Then, like you mentioned as well, the substitutions. I can't remember who it is that going out, but the referees straight behind him.
Yeah. Willock was one of them.
Come on, get off the field. Yeah. You never see that ever.
You shift like that, and you're not allowed to applaud the supporters.
No,
it's
Willock and Wood were the two. Where the referees, because Willock was in front of the stand at the time, which was obviously intentional, but as soon as his number comes up, the referees have a hand on the back.
Yeah. No. But you never see it, do you? You never see it. But once again, Newcastle United have invented time wasting. First club to do it.
What
and spending money.
There was a rule brought in a few years ago, and like if you got substituted, you had to go off the pitch at the
nearest exit. Yeah.
So he should have got. So Willock should have really just 5 yards away from.
Callum Wilson done it against Southampton as well. He took it.
Every player does, unless the referee stamps on it and tells them to go off a certain way. They'll do it. They'll walk back to the dugout.
I think one of the Man U players done it at Old Trafford as well, where they're right on the line and they took an absolute trek to get off the field. A couple of other things: Lascelles, unused sub, but causing a nuisance on the touchline. It just shows that team bond as well. He's not even playing, and he's still involved. Love to see that.
Well, at the time, I thought it was their player was getting
Cucurella
booked. Yeah, Cucurella. I'm like for the throwing or something like that, or has he said something to the ref? And it was you went, no, he's booking Lascelles. Look, which just seemed bizarre.
Just making a nuisance of himself. Once again, getting in the players' way, time wasting. You could put that one down too. And what I loved about that game is the team kicking off at the end. Mainly Joe Linton going absolutely wild.
Jacob Murphy getting involved as well.
Yeah,
he made sure
Murphy loves it, doesn't he?
Must be on the right team. He's tiny, isn't he?
angry little man.
I'm surprised.
The thing with Murphy, he's probably looking around thinking, "I've got Botman there, I've got Joe Linton there. I'm getting involved because I'm protected."
Well, it was Schär that started it all off.
I did. He did.
Schär with Havertz, and then Byrne came over and was
the Chelsea coaches were getting involved and going over Joe Linton and shouting in Joe Linton's face. So God knows what he did.
Bruno was getting involved. Obviously, the old Brighton defender who's now on the coaching staff there.
Oh, yes.
He was the little ball.
Bruno, I'm thinking.
No, Bruno.
Yes,
I've completely bypassed this, but Mark, you mentioned Bruno's 2-footed challenge as well. Where I mentioned in Decker yesterday, it was very similar to that game against Leicester, where there was just challenges going left, right, and centre.
That video that comes around every few
But
months.
it was apart from the opposite, we weren't winning the ball.
It was the other one. Well,
somebody.
Obviously, Longstaff did that one that you were just talking about on Cucurella on the touchline, and then it comes in Dan Burn. What a challenge that is! That sliding.
He knows he's winning that ball, but he just
goes through it, doesn't he? And again, like
the ball went.
And I love it when that happens. The roar that you get from the crowd. It's like scoring a goal when it goes in like that. Like the noise is just something else. But I had a half a panic that the referee might have gave a free kick or something for that tackle, because yes, he's taken the ball and cleanly won it, but then is he going to do him for following through? Obviously, because
we saw one earlier in the game where Longstaff had made a great challenge and the referee gave a free kick for that, like, so you wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, overall, it was another Newcastle United victory, which is completely different to the rest. We're seeing this week in, week out now. You'll see a lot of these top teams, Man City, for example, the winning, they'll go and dominate a team left, right, and centre, and they'll score X amount of goals. Every single victory this season seems different to the last one, and that's down to Eddie Howe and the coach and stuff.
And so we're not scared of teams now. We're not scared of them. We'll go. We showed it early in the season with Man City of that. We'll go toe to toe with them. We'll give them a good game. When Liverpool, we did the same. We're not afraid of these big teams, and I think this is why we're getting the reaction that we are from the opposition, of the moaning about things, being upset about stuff, because
spoiling the party.
They just don't like it.
Said before about which Chelsea was going to turn up, but we're corrected straight away, because it's if Newcastle turn up, we've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah,
we really haven't. If we were playing Man City on Saturday, we would be confident going to that game. I'm telling you now, we would be confident.
Not give them a hide, but
again, the way
give them a game.
It's the way that they're playing. You can see that they're beatable at the minute, and when we click. We've got the beating of anybody. God, I can't believe I'm sitting here saying that.
just going back over, I mean, I hate to bring Rafa and Bruce into it again, but we're going to do it, because under Rafa, we're always in a game. We might not have played well, we might not have created much, but when it hit 90 minutes, we were always, one goal behind, or it was 0-0. We're always in a game. Under Bruce, it was either we'd beat teams, and you couldn't understand how we did it, or would be destroyed. Whereas with Eddie Howe, yet again, we're in games, or we've controlled the game normally by about the hour mark. Yeah. Most of our goals are between about 30 and 40 minutes, or just after half time, and about the hour mark. And if we're ahead after an hour, I don't think we're going to lose the game.
No,
we mentioned this last week, Mark, that if Newcastle get that first game, their first goal, the opposition is going to struggle to get anywhere near the ball after that. Yeah. Because once we get that one under Bruce, and even Rafa to a degree would sit back. Now we just want to score more.
When you've got leaders across the park, which we've obviously got with Trippier, we've got with Dan Burn, Shaw has clearly stepped up now. Botman, he's captain material. You've got Wilson up front, and you've got that midfield three. Whoever it's going to be, if it is Shelvey coming in, if it's not Shelvey, Willock's not really a leader, but I can't remember who it was the other day. Sitmore said Willock reminds them of Gutierrez. He would not his actual ability. It was more the fact that he'll get the ball and he'll just run. You come and tackle me. I'm going to win a free kick in a dangerous position.
He's done it a couple of times on that left hand side. Exactly. He find himself in the box and you don't know how he got there.
You mentioned Botman there, Mark. I just remember there a few minutes when it scored at full time, when they were walking in front of us, when they got in the corner. Botman had a hold of Willock. He's like shit, like Mitrovic did about Dwight Gale in the championship at the time. And he's like, the crowd, no, well done, mate. And then he's in front of Gallagher giving 6 out, and that's under his skin now. There's so many of that team now. Nick Pope, him, that even Joe Linton, lads that have been here a while, maybe new, but like the way Howe's trained them. And I remember saying when we signed Bruno, he must be looking at the Gallagher with all the flags and going back to Brazil saying, "Fucking hell, lads, you want to see this?"
Do you feel
it's unbelievable?
Do you still feel as if it's us against the rest?
Yeah, even more so now. To be honest with you,
this is where it's coming from,
because we've kind of engendered. I think the way the team are playing, that kind of circling the wagons mentality where we are, as I said earlier, we're not popular. Teams aren't
far from it at the minute.
We never have been, though, Besty.
No.
We're shade.
But
it's the fans that are unpopular.
Yeah, I think the team as well. I think the team's becoming, when people are talking about time wasting, they're talking about gamesmanship, they'll be twisting the boot themselves, getting booked for that throw-in. But I think that's helped to kind of build siege mentality sounds like such a cliche, but the way the players are together, and you can see, as I say, the club's going to their skin, the way Eddie Howe's got them, the way he's kind of drilled into them. Listen to that podcast he did with Jake Humphries, that high performance thing there.
Jake Humphries,
the way he talks about how he kind of, and it's what he kind of instills in the players. It's very much a kind of, I don't know how you describe it, to be honest with you. Is it a self-confidence thing? Is it
it's belief?
Maybe I believe.
It's belief.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that full podcast, but the bits I did listen to, I thought, Christ, he's so in touch with reality.
Yeah.
In your working class guy.
Yeah.
And it's a cliche, but when I went to see Keegan the other week, it's Dougie's, he was talking. And Keegan turned round and said, there was a question from the floor, said, what did Eddie Howe ask you? And Kevin Keegan, when I told him straight, I'm not going to talk to you about tactics and how to manage your team. It's your players, your squad. The game's changed so much since I managed. However, what I will say is, do not pull the wool over them fans' eyes.
Yeah.
You cannot lie to them. They've had enough bullshit for the last 14 years. And I'm like, Ashley, do yourself a favour and just be honest with them. And I got the biggest ovation all night. Do you know what I mean? Apart from the fact that Keegan did admit he's not interested in coming back, by the way, in the ambassador role. He's not interested. But that goes to show that Eddie Howe wanted to speak to the likes of Shearer, Keegan, and Keegan's turned around and went, never mind the tactics, never mind, go and sign this player, play that way.
Yeah.
Don't piss the fans off, you'll do okay.
Yeah.
That is for me.
You'll get found out straight away.
Yeah.
Straight away.
That's the one thing we've always hated with managers as excuses. Instead of just saying it as it is, telling the truth, because we've got eyes in our head. We can see what's happening on the pitch. We can see what's happening at the club. And if you try to, muddy the waters or paper over it, it just doesn't wash. So he's bang on. You say the truth. You say what you see, and you'll go a long way.
I think there's a lot to be said. What he did when he went, the fact that he recognised, as I said earlier, he says in that podcast about the Bournemouth relegation being a failure on his part. He considers it to be like he's let him down and stuff. So and he said the worst thing I could have done was go back to the manager straight away because I've got all that baggage and I still consider myself to be not quite there. I'm paraphrasing a bit like. So he went and Jamie Carragher made the comparison at the weekend with Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, there's been a few shouts tonight about.
And I don't think we'll play like them necessarily. I think we're a more attacking side, but you can see the very much the kind of the mentality of the players. Yeah, just to kind of go and win at any cost.
The dogs of war.
Yeah, I think that's kind of from that. It's Simeone's playbook, isn't it? It's what when he was a player, he did it. And it's kind of what Atletico are known for. Obviously, got Trippier, kind of a bridge between the two as well.
Sometimes you need that, though.
You always do.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say they're playing above themselves at the minute, but I suppose the fullness of time we'll find that out. But they're it certainly isn't hurting what they're doing. Kind of the gamesmanship side of it. Mm-hmm. The kind of the nibbles. It's what football's always had. But Dan Burn having to go and have it straight away the weekend in the cells and the crowd feed off it as well. And the crowd feed off it obviously goes back on the pitch and it's kind of reciprocated. It's a big part of what Newcastle are now.
We're not here to make friends, though.
No.
You got to compete.
No, I like trophies, thanks.
Yeah. It's been a while, but we still like them.
I cannot wait. I was saying this to me, I was saying to me dad the other week. I cannot wait to take my lads to the game and see. You'll never believe how shit this was for fucking.
That's just my partner next to you.
We're going to dive into the questions. Marc, while I get the questions ready, do you want to do your usual little lines?
Yes, if you haven't already done it, if you would be so kind as to hit that little thumbs up icon just below us where we are now and give this video a like. And if you want to become a subscriber, hit the little bell notification, turn your notifications off, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to go even one step further, you can become a member for a very, very tiny fee. Do it. You get extra quality from only $2.99 per month.
It is, right?
Have you written that down? That's very slick.
No, professional, me. No, very professional.
No. Professional, isn't it?
Well impressed.
It's very good, that. Like.
Right, straight into the questions. Marc, I'm going to stick with you. Liam says, do you think we'll get Champions League football? Yes or a no?
No. No. My head still cannot compute the fact that we're sitting third in the league. Unfortunately,
do you think it'll be close?
I think.
Do you still think we'll finish 9th?
I'd happily finish 9th. I'd happily finish 9th. as I said earlier, I'm starting to simmer now. I am starting to believe that we can maybe still crack that top 6 and finish in a European place. There, I've said it.
Still 23 games to go. There's a lot of football. There's a long way to
there
go
is,
yet. Like,
but
a lot more games for us to win.
It's
well, as I say, it's not just this season. This is carrying on from
last season and
12
pre-season.
months. Yeah. It's not a flash in the pan. It's not a decent run of form. This is a good side doing well.
Kobe, obviously, we know our own opinions because we talk about this every Monday night.
Yeah, I think we will. I think why not keep that form going into next year? If you look at Man United and Liverpool, you could see they're going through not turmoil, but a transitional period on and off the pitch. There's loads of uncertainty. We haven't got that. We've got the new owners. We know the money's coming in. We know the new signings coming in. Break the bank for Maddison. Keep building. They're playing with so much confidence, as we've touched on before, that even the players were doubted. Jacob Murphy, Longstaff, they've raised that game. I honestly think we're going to do it,
When you talk about the transitional period, it's a bit like we mentioned the week when Leicester won the league. Now, I'm not saying we're going to win the league here, but they took advantage of Man City was after Pellegrini before they got in Mancini, I think. Might be perfectly right. Van Gaal was at Man U, they were struggling. Klopp had just got the Liverpool job. Wenger was on his way out with Arsenal. The planets aligned for them and they won the league. And they were, don't get us wrong, Leicester were brilliant.
Aye.
They were, you would never think a team with Wes Morgan and Robert Huth that did it, Danny Simpson. But they won the league and they were the best team in the league. I think that Arsenal have been too good. I think Man City will still be too good. Liverpool aren't a tough side all of a sudden. But we are taking advantage for sure of we 9 points out of Chelsea now.
9.
And you don't often get a team at this point in the season, any team, 9 points out of Chelsea. So they're struggling with that. Graham Potter hasn't quite. It might take him a year to get what he wants out of those players. Because when you look at Eddie Howe, when he came at Newcastle, he said, I'm not going to get these lads playing exactly how I want for a bit of time yet because of the fitness thing. And because of how Potter coaches, he sets teams up, how he changes during the games, it's going to take him a little while to get that into his players. World Cup's not going to help them in that regard either because it's going to be losing a lot of lads to that. Liverpool had a bad start of the season, and if we can just keep, I don't know if I would say I think we'll finish in the Champions League spots.
Would you be disappointed? Well, I'll go to the next question. Scott's next question is: now we have reached these dizzy heights. If we end the season in 7th, is that a disappointment?
No, not all. No way. No, I'd be delighted. Even now, sitting here, 3rd in the table, 2 points off second, I'm delighted with 7th. Because if you're 7th, yes, you've still sustained, if not wonderful form, still good form in the second half of the season.
Bearing in mind at the start of the season, we said top 10.
I would have been thrilled with 7th. I said 7th at the start of the season. 7th gets in the Conference League. It gets in European football, albeit at the lowest rung as it is now. It's still a good season.
Yeah. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Just take stock of. It's amazing where we are, but
just appreciate this moment.
It can go one of two ways. Yes, we can keep the form going. We could easily, which would be typical Newcastle, pick up a key injury to somebody like Trippier or Bruno, Wilson, and then
but we have.
Aye.
We've already done that this season.
Isaac Wilson, St. Maximin, Bruno, all missed games.
Aye,
but think back to 13 months.
Slowly converting you.
think back to 13 months ago, before the takeover, you had Mike Ashley running the club, Steve Bruce was manager, Charlie was still knocking about, Joe Linton was going to go for, he was pittance, Fabian Schär was going to go on a free, we're getting relegated. I'd have been happy.
Almiron was going back to America.
If you'd asked us this time last year, I would have settled for 3rd in the Championship now.
Yeah. Aye.
And here we are. So 7th to me, that's still, it's not like a dream, but it's realistic. Mm-hmm. But it's still it's a really good season.
I get why Marc's saying that, because we've got to keep our feet on the ground. Simple as
absolutely,
that.
Yeah.
And the fans have got a huge part to play in all of this, because if expectation creeps into the stadium, and it has crept in some games, when we played Brentford, Bournemouth, Palace, people turn up expecting to win. Simple as that.
Yeah.
If the fans can turn up like they did on Saturday against Chelsea, when we, in our own minds, we're still the underdog, we're still starting to keep up with the big boys. If the fans can turn up like that every week, now don't forget the next home game is going to be Leeds.
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. That's going to be phenomenal.
Aye.
And then you've got...
it's like the season's starting over again, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's like the Chelsea game was like an end-of-season game.
We've still
get that first game of the season feeling again.
We've still got Liverpool at home to come.
Payback.
We will still have Arsenal.
Yeah.
So there's some big... Man U. There's some huge games at home.
We've been fairly lucky with a home draw in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the fixtures, I mean, this has been commented that it's some sort of conspiracy theory for us, is that we don't appear to have on paper a difficult run of games, but like as if that's something that we can magically
you still play the same
FA do.
19 teams home away, don't you? And you do a bad run and be a bad run and all that, but now we've got. It almost feels like the crowd, even though we could see them getting more complacent because of the kind of comparative success that happened at the minute. But then we've got more games against teams that would consider rivals. So Chelsea, Man U, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, Leeds are always going to be one of them. Villa's always going to be an atmosphere because of the thing with them and
it's those games that bring out the best in the crowd.
There's half the league straight away. Half the league are games against inverted commas rivals. So I think that it's the games against the likes of Bournemouth, Palace, Fulham at home. Teams that you would kind of
There's not much edge to it, is there?
Yeah, you've got to kind of. But that's why the flags have been brilliant.
Yeah,
war flags would be absolutely phenomenal for the atmosphere, and it wouldn't have. I'm not saying the atmosphere wouldn't have been great, but what they have done since the takeover has been unbelievable.
It certainly
really,
helps,
really good.
Of course it does.
Massively.
Of course it does. Kobe, I'm going to throw this one to you because you're our guest. There is a question here from Graham Dougal who says, if we bring in 2 and 3 in January, who makes way? I'm going to twist that round slightly and we'll keep it on a positive note rather than looking at losing players. Which 2 players, in fact, no, we'll just go 1. Which 1 player would you like to see arrive in January?
Madison.
Same as
100%. I think he may be the one they're going to break the bank for.
I think so as well.
I think they've been told 50 million is nowhere near enough. I don't even think 80 million is going to be enough now because he's picked up even better form. He's looking an even better player. He's now in the England squad.
Yeah.
He's more than likely going to play as well. Break the bank for him, I say, because as brilliant as Almiron's been, I think you've always still got to look at improving your players.
100%.
Oh, yeah, of course you have.
And people are like, whoa, you kind of look, always keep kicking on. He's 4 or 5 years younger than him. You're gonna get a good 6 or 7 seasons out of him. You can always play Almiron on the left, play Madison off the front man.
Madison can play in a range of positions.
Bring Almiron off the bench.
And make no mistake, Wilson and the others will be in his ear, especially Trippier.
Yeah, so that was my next question.
Yeah.
It's normally the other way around where we're normally worried about players going on international duty and other players getting in the air of them. Is it going to be working the other way around now where you've got poor trips?
However, the players from other sides will be looking at what's going on at Senior James Park and thinking,
they'll be asking
I want to
questions,
play in front of that.
Aye.
What's it really like? Again, we're going back to the guy there, Kevin Keegan. That's what the players used to say. Robert Lee, Ferdinand, before they got Shearer. What's it really like playing for Newcastle under Kevin Keegan? And it sold itself because of what people could see on the television. And if you're an opponent like Mount, for example, playing for Chelsea, the expectations are always there. They've turned into a bit of a moaning bunch of supporters. I don't expect to sign him, but he may look at that and go, hey, I'll tell you what, I fancy a bit of this.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier with I was saying to Jack when we were saying Bruno, he must be going back to his on the phone. I think I said Paquette at the time saying, like, yeah, mate, it's unbelievable, this. Exactly what I was thinking there when you've got Trippier, Pope, Callum Wilson going over England this year, talking to Madison, talking to whomever, Rashford, saying, lads, it's fucking unbelievable there now. I'll keep going back. There was one game where Jeff Stelling was Soccer Saturday, and Jeff Stelling was like talking about Newcastle at home, and he kind of stopped and says, look at that.
Aye.
And he just saw the Gallowgateshots with the flags, and I think, it's unbelievable.
I think it was a Spurs game, wasn't it?
Was it the first
game back?
Yeah, takeover.
I think it was that one.
Sounds corny as well. It's a quick one. Leicester away, if Madison's playing. Newcastle fans can do themselves a favour and the club by singing something about that, We used to do it under Keegan. If we knew we were linked with a player, it was always like something like
poach the players through chance.
Friedel sign for us. Friedel sign for us.
Well, you've got loyalty points from guessing.
Well, so I want to talk about loyalty points.
I've actually spoken to James Madison, and he was very complimentary about Newcastle. It was the week after he scored. Yeah, well, in fact, he scored a couple of times at St. James Park, but it was the last time he scored. I think he'd done the dart celebration if I remember right. I spoke to him on the phone a week later, and obviously I knew it was James Maddison. His occupation was professional footballer. Lived obviously in Leicester, so I was having a bit of chat with him, and I mentioned Newcastle. I was like, "Oh, I hate when you come here. You always score." And he said, "Oh, I absolutely love playing at St James's Park. I love the atmosphere. I just love the city." So, like, obviously, we didn't know this. We were going to be in this position now, but maybe he's the one that
you're hearing more and more, like of late now, of more and more players talking about St James's Park, the atmosphere, the fans. Like, it's starting to get that feeling back of being a fortress and people, you know, coming there and being, I don't know if they're overawed by it, but it's like they're certainly aware of the reception that they're going to get, the noise that's made, the flags and all of that kind of thing.
I think when you dream of playing football as a kid, I mean, obviously I'm biased. I dream of playing at St James's Park when fucking the Gallowgate was full of piss and all that. You know what I mean? So I'm quiet here, like, but surely when you mentioned Mason Mount, they're looking and thinking like, oh, this is great. This and another thing with Newcastle at the minute is the English players that I have anyway. I was reading this week that I think it was one game, might be in the Villa or Southampton game. We started with 7 English players in the first team, and that's the most the Premier League teams had in it for like 8, certainly this season. So there's already an English core there. We're talking about Maddison was one there. Could that be something else to entice him? Another little kind of question I had in my head there was, for all the talk of Harry Kane possibly breaking Shearer's record, and I'd be gutted, would you have him do it playing for us?
Yes, 100%. Like, I absolutely love a shithouse when they play for Newcastle.
Because he wants to win stuff. He's not getting any younger. We are... Don't say it, Stephen. I won't say where we're taking Tottenham. We're catching them up. We're at the point now where...
We've just beat them.
If he moves, he's going abroad.
Do you think?
Yeah.
When the Premier League St James's Park?
I think he's missed the boat there, you know.
I think he might have done.
I think he's missed the boat.
So...
Get him in.
I don't know. Podcast recording last night for 90-minute football, and they do a Monday afternoon show called the Gas Tank, which is mainly fans of your top 6, what you would expect Premier League podcasts to be. And there's a lad on there, a Liverpool fan, that mentioned after I did my bit, you're seeing obviously the rumours that he's heard going around are the links with Maddison. Mahrez was one as well from City, and he said, why can Newcastle, in the current situation that they are in, if they can get Champions League football, which is a big if we can finish 4th, why can we not then go and look at the likes of Harry Kane? I know we brought Isaac in, right? I know that, but
it's a thing with balancing the books in it and kind of making sure we've got money coming in. I mean, we couldn't go out now and sign Mahrez, Maddison, because with the FFP and all that, we haven't got the daft sponsorships that were yet, or they've not been announced yet at least. But it'll get the point if things keep on going as they are. We'll have a pick like
that. Champions League football is the game changer, though, isn't it?
Oh, totally. I mean, again, for money in, you know, and they're changing the format from next season, the season after, where there's like teams are going to play an extra 3 or 4 games. Yeah, I forget exactly how. I know how it's going to work, but I can't remember the kind of specifics. But that brings more money in as well. Advertisers, ticket revenue.
And I know the issue is with wages and what players would demand and things like that. But as the seasons pass by, the income that this football club is going to be making through sponsorship and whatever else it may be is going to go through the roof. Yeah, we're going to be up there with the best.
Shirt sponsor, sleeve sponsor, training kit sponsor. We've got the fucking hair clinic sponsor, Turkish fella.
Dr. Cynic.
Yeah, there will be you two lads. I knew that one. Like, that's telling.
Dr. Cynic.
Apparently, he's coming to the next home game.
Apparently.
I might have a peek of my scalp. Actually, it's gone. Like, but,
no comment.
But I mean, that's what teams do. And there was talk the other week about renaming St James's Park, and I still think it might happen, but that would be the last thing to go. Tottenham haven't had to do it.
The Harry Kane Arena.
Oh no, he's not dead.
I can't do it.
Kind of sanctify him, yeah. But I think that they'll be selling stuff off like that. But that's what football is now.
We're just proving that we're dreaming at the minute.
Feet on the ground, feet on the table.
If we're obviously feet back on the table,
get your feet on the table.
We're talking about bringing Harry Kane into this football.
That's never going to happen. Not a chance.
Last year,
I'm putting that out there now. Harry Kane is not signing for Newcastle.
Get a deal for Chowdhury done last season. Now we're looking at Harry Kane as a
well. We're not looking at Harry Kane.
Well, we are.
We're scouts now, man.
Anybody else got anything to add to this one before we wrap it up?
We were going to talk about sponsorship.
Right. Okay. I know loyalty points has came up once again on social media, but I think it's been such a positive episode. Let's just shelf that one for another recording. Yeah, you happy with that?
Yeah, bring us back.
we'll bring Corby back. It's extra content in the World Cup break, which we need to fill. So we'll have a discussion about loyalty points. So sponsorship, Mark. Yeah, so the photos went round and they were leaked on social media the middle of last week, was it? Towards the end of last week?
Last Thursday, Friday,
I want to say.
Yeah.
So it's Saudi Airlines, yeah?
Fly Saudi?
Saudi, yeah.
So there's photos around the city centre, around St. James's Park, inside St. James's Park. A lot of people got very excited by that, thinking this is the next big sponsor of Newcastle United. You've got a different opinion, Mark.
It might not be right, but it just seemed everybody just jumped to the same conclusion of that. We must absolutely be naming these as the new sponsor. You very, very, very rarely see big sponsorship deals get made in the middle of a season. We've done it once, I think, in history back in the 90s. Obviously, Newcastle Brown Ales and Green Ales, but that was because of obviously the Green Ales going bust, so we had to change it.
Northern Rock and Virgin Money
again, same thing.
Reason, though, isn't it?
Companies going bust. You don't suddenly in the middle of a season change your shirt sponsor or announce a big sponsorship like that. It might be, they could be named as the official airline of Newcastle, much in the same way we've now got an official.
The clubs have official airlines.
The clubs have official hair transplant partners.
I suppose.
So that it could be something linked along there. Again, with the Saudi telecom company, it could be that it's their official telecommunications partner. So it could be something like that. But
could it be possibly because my issue was I was thinking the same as you. Okay, then obviously I saw the photos inside St. James's Park. And a lot of people are thinking, right, they're just announcing a flight that's going direct to Newcastle.
Well, they don't have that at the minute, which is a key thing. They only fly into Manchester, into Heathrow.
Would there be in St. James's Park to do that?
But you've just got to look at, for me, you've just got to look at where the interest that's in Saudi at the moment around Newcastle, all of the noise that, look, you can come and see the city here, some of the sites you'll see around in the city. Why not come and watch a game while you're here?
Okay.
That gets us back onto the loyalty point issue. However, what's to stop the club from having this deal where you have, official visits, because we know they get hospitality tickets are always on offer for obscene amounts of money. Let's say you fly in some rich sheikh, get them in on Saudi Air, and then they're into hospitality for the game.
Rumour has it that there are a couple of boxes which they are looking at smashing into one huge box as well for the Saudi family.
Yeah, I've heard that rumour as well. So again,
it's going to be like a suite.
That could be the thing. So the fact that there's no flight path there at the minute with that company, screams straight away of that. That's something that they'd want to explore, and announcing that there'll be direct flights between Newcastle and Riyadh, if that's where it's going to be, or different cities in and around.
Would there be enough? I get what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree, but would there be enough? Is Newcastle enough of a destination, even with the football team?
Look how many Saudi private jets fly into Newcastle.
I don't really. There's loads.
You've just got to look at the flight trackers on Twitter.
There's
a lot. There's a lot of
things in Northumberland, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know the Rubens are obviously. I don't know if maybe he's kind of, but I was thinking if it was Manchester and London at the minute.
Manchester and Heathrow.
You think Birmingham would be next in line because the size of Birmingham? Just like Newcastle, it's quite a small city, compared to Edinburgh maybe. And then hard to get. It was now down the road.
Do you know what those cities don't have though? Newcastle United.
Yep, that's true enough. Maybe it is that. It would just.
I'd love it. I'm sounding like Keegan, yeah. Love it if it was a multi-millionaire, huge sponsorship deal, but it just seems unlikely.
It could just be another thing like the hair transplant thing.
Yeah,
it's just
that's what I'm saying. Official airline, official telecommunications company. That ain't going to bring in the mega bucks, but it helps get extra revenue in, which would be missing for a long, long time.
You know how we're
going to be welcome.
A hair transplant partner now.
This is just going to go off. I can tell by his face.
No, it's honestly not. It's a sensible question.
This preempts an unsensible question being asked.
I just love how the sensible questions now start with. Do you know how we've got an official hair transplant sponsor?
But is there anything that they couldn't monetize? like we've talked about grounds, kits, Steve sponsor, training kits. Hair transplant. I've seen other clubs have got the hair transplant.
Everton
as well.
did Everton get it
Yeah,
as well.
aye.
It's big business. Like, how many people fly to
But like,
Turkey on a holiday to get the teeth and hair
but
done?
what I'm saying is, you've got to could you not like official toothpaste, official everything. You could literally, if you're monetizing hair transplants,
Like veneers and that.
you could do it with dentists. We've got Neil out in Dubai. Get him in amongst it.
Laser eye surgery and that.
Everything. There's nothing to say that you couldn't. There's a few million there. You say it's not big money. Enough little ones are.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. So it could be a smaller sponsorship type of thing.
I would suspect with Fly Saudi, there's going to be something else there because that's one of the ones. There was when the golf fella came over as well. Not so long.
Yeah.
Saudi golf, was it?
So it could. This could just be the foot in the door of opening up the flight path between. We're seeing at the weekend, obviously the advertisements on the board. That's because it's being beamed around the world. People will be seeing it. So it then makes natural if you can now fly direct from Saudi into Newcastle.
As much I was about to take the piss out the way you were going, the path you were going down there, Besty. Scott has brought up a great point. That says Liverpool and Gillette. They could have shaving spots.
Yeah.
Nivea. It was Liverpool players doing the Nivea moisturizer advert. So yeah, there's a load of avenues that go.
Look how many people brought Brute back when you were a kid because Kevin Keegan advertised it.
Frank Bruno when I was a kid. Terry Crews.
Gaza did it.
Gaza did it as well, yeah. So that's the thing. Shearer like advertised McDonald's for years and years.
The
Honey Monster,
sugar puffs.
Puffs. So there's
they're going to be boycotting all sorts of something, aren't they?
Yeah.
if you seem to be getting some sort of
Kickback.
I was going to say success on the pitch first, then you become interesting, and that's when investors want to spend money with you. And if people are seeing, Bruno could get a sponsorship straight away for blonde hair dye. No. Him and Joe Linton advertising the latest L'Oreal. Did L'Oreal do hair dye? God knows. Garnier.
long time ago.
You're looking at the wrong person there, mate.
So and if they're advertising that, you can see all of the lads will be going, oh, look there, that's the hair dye that Bruno and Joe Linton wear. Yeah. Everybody did it. So
just quick point on that. This is why I love what the Flags are doing, because they're still keeping it in-house.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's spoke to Thomas, etc. They don't refuse. They're working with the club, but they don't want the club to have that sort of power where they may go, oh, by the way, we've got this new sponsor, get a flag.
Yeah.
It's Newcastle fans. It's all about Newcastle, the history, and obviously the present. And I'm pleased that being true to themselves.
That had been talked about as well recently with the anniversary one when I had the shape. Not the shape. I'll remain on the front the Chronicles cover, and that was on the flag, and they got some abuse for that online because people were saying, it's like the infiltration or what. That's a good enough word, but the kind of influence of them on the flags. And I don't think the kind of distinction was necessarily made.
Right,
that they are totally independent of the club.
Yeah,
we could make a fortune with a soap seller at the minute, couldn't we? Just link it into all the washing that's going on at St James's Park.
I was trying to work that out there, Mark. I couldn't. That's tenuous. That one.
All right, we'll end it on that one then. Jesus Christ. Thanks everybody for watching tonight. It's been a pleasure as always. Thanks to there's almost 400 people watching at the minute as well. So thank you very much. If you do just want to like the video, like Mark said, it helps us out massively.
Do it now.
You can become a subscriber. Costs absolutely nothing to do so. But like Mark mentioned, it's $2.99 a month to become a member. You get early access to content. You get extra content. You even get an invite into the Telegram group, which is just Newcastle United fans. I think there's 140, 150 thereabouts, Mark.
Hell froze over today.
We're ending, but what?
Decker visited the Telegram group.
He must have been bored.
Was it 40,000 messages?
25.5 thousand messages Decker had missed out on.
So yeah, you do get access to the Telegram group as well. It's just a private group where it's Newcastle fans, like I said, having a bit of chat. But yeah, that's it for the night. Thank you, boys. I've enjoyed this one.
It's been fun, hasn't it?
It has been.
I like
fun.
emphasis on this one. Like when now Decker's not here.
It's been my favourite.
It's just because obviously we're going into this break now, full of smiles on our faces, full of confidence, and long may it continue. Long may it continue. Thanks, everybody. See you later.